Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today we are going back to a deck that I love a great deal, which is Food Chain. It's one of the few decks I actually have in paper, and I had a bit of a brainwave. People have been messing around using Unstable Amulet in Food Chain. So this is whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, this deals 1 damage to each opponent. So you can just loop this Squee the Immortal as many times as you want through Food Chain and just dome your opponent until they are dead. So that is something that people have been messing around with, but they've been playing it in rug shells. And I thought, well, the best energy shell in the format is clearly the red-white one. Obviously, what you splash around it changes things. But clearly the red-white with the Guide of Souls, Ocelot Pride, Amped Raptor type stuff is where you want to be. So I thought, how about we take a step away from blue and play a Naya energy deck? So that's exactly what we're doing today. So we've got the Guide of Souls and the Ocelot Pride and the Amped Raptor. We have one Ajani, which we can tutor for using the Imperial Recruiter, which can also find us our Mawloc if we need to blow some stuff up. We can find our Walking Ballista to dump infinite mana in once we have Squee. We can find our Magus of the Moon to shut down some scary decks. We've got a one-of Skyclave Apparition to deal with various problem permanents. We've got ourselves a Collector Ouphe in the main deck that we can go and search up for those matchups. And obviously we have the Questing Druid, which is a core part of what our deck does, because this, combined with Squee, gives us an infinite-sized creature if we've got the Food Chain. So the way this works is Food Chain exiles a creature we control and gives us X plus 1 mana of any one colour that we can only spend to cast creature spells. So Squee can be cast from exile or graveyard, so we play this, we exile it, and we keep doing this, and we can make infinite mana. Now we do have to click through that on Magic Online, but it shouldn't be too bad now that we have both Unstable Amulet and Questing Druid, that we can just click through and just get these going and have massive creatures. And that's basically what we're trying to accomplish here. Sometimes, you know, we'll have infinite mana and we'll just recruiter up a Walking Ballista, make this infinitely large, and kill our opponent. But yeah, we're sort of like a Naya aggro deck with this little combo finish, which is quite an interesting place to be. I'm not sure how this is going to fare, to be honest. I'm not sure if we need the crutch of something like a Force of Will with our deck, so maybe Rug is the correct way to go. But I want to try something a little bit different today. And this is certainly something that I'm going to be keeping an eye on in terms of paper tournaments, because like I said, I play Food Chain in paper, and it's nice to explore the space. And hopefully I won't need to buy lots of new dual lands, but I think this deck is going to be an interesting one at the very least. Mana-wise, we just have lands that tap for colours here. We don't have anything fancy going on here. We could maybe include something like a Passager and stuff, but I just wanted to have a really solid mana base and just rely on casting our spells, and then we can start tweaking afterwards. We've got a couple of Surveil lands. We've got Commercial District and Lush Portico, because we are pretty much just splashing green, so we can get our Enters the Battlefield tap lands for our splashes here. We've also got 2 Savannahs and 1 Taiga. We do have the basics, obviously, because we're trying to play a Magus of the Moon game sometimes. But yeah, that's our deck. Sideboard-wise, we've got some hate for Nadu decks with all their Green Suns and Chords of Calling, as well as things like Ocelot spells. I think Grafdigger's Cage is in a really good place right now. We have a one-off Fairy Macabre, which we can tutor for using our Recruiter. Same with this Gadok Teague. We've got a couple of Deafening Silence, again, for some of these combo decks that can go underneath us. A couple of Carpet Flowers, so we can power out a bunch of stuff against the blue decks and offset any wasteland damage we might be taking by just having a bunch of mana. And then a couple of Pyroblasts and a couple of Furies to deal with problem permanents or spells. And that is basically it. I'm curious to see how this one pans out. We've all seen before many times just Guide of Souls and Ocelot Pride running away with the game. But let's see if we can get our opponent to spend resource on this and then just win with a combo finish afterwards. Alright, please remember to like and subscribe. And if you want to see my videos early, for just £1 a month, you can become a YouTube member and get access to my videos early. Alright, let's get Food Chain in. So our opener here only has 1 land in. Now we do have 2 1-drops that we can play, and that gives us 2 turns to try and hit a land. If we hit a second land, then we're cooking. I think this is a risky one, but I think I'm willing to give it a go. I think the upside on this one is quite high. Right, they've gone to 5 cards, so we might just be getting windmilled by some sort of combo. But we do have a decent chunk of cards on our sideboard to help with that situation. But this is where, if we were a blue deck with Force of Will, then we would at least have a safety net in matchups like this in game 1. Now, it is possible that they are, you know, just unlucky, but it does seem like they're going to be doing something in the combo ballpark, given Lotus Petal Brainstorm here. So my initial thought is some sort of Storm list. Seems likely. Alright, Source of Plowshares, unlikely to be the most useful thing right now. In comes the Guide of Souls. So if we hit a land next turn, we have choices. We can do Amped Raptor stuff. We can do Unstable Amulet. We've got a bunch of choices. We could play out the Ajani. Alright, they've just scooped it up. So we've seen Lotus Petal, Brainstorm, Brainstorm. This to me suggests that I would like some Deafening Silence, possibly a Gadok Teague, maybe some Pyroblasts. These are the sort of things I'm somewhat interested in. I don't think this looks like a deck where we're going to need Swords to Plowshares. It might be a case that they have the Orcish Bowmasters into like wheels and echoes and stuff. I think we're going to play around what we've seen so far. The Collector Ouphe does look pretty good here, so we'll keep that one around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards here. So we need one more cut. I don't think the Magus of the Moon is where I necessarily want to be. Maybe it is, but we'll find out soon. And we'll just go in like this. Maybe we even want things like Grafdigger's Cage to stop echoes or whatever. We just don't have that information yet. Another one lander, but it does have a sideboard card we brought it in specifically for this matchup. So I will keep this one. And we know our lands are very unlikely to be under any sort of pressure from our opponent. Underground Sea. I'm thinking some sort of like Ad Nauseam Tendril style list. There is a new Storm build with the One Ring in that looks pretty good. So we probably want to go and get a Plateau here. That's usually our go-to land to fetch. We'll start with a Deafening Silence so we don't get killed on turn 2. Alright, a Daze. Okay, it could be Doomsday. We set our opponent back a turn at least. Very much like to draw some mana for next turn, so we can just fire out these 2 Guide of Souls. So also what our deck does is generates infinite energy while we're going through our combo as well. So we have a lot of stuff we can do if we get to draw a land this turn and then following turn. Okay, so I would like to play a Guide of Souls here. I think that's correct. To play a Guide of Souls into another Guide of Souls. Because each one of these represents a decent chunk of mana if we can get the food chain down. So we need a Savannah here because we want to have green mana for next turn. So if we draw a land next turn, we can play food chain and then we immediately have 4 mana. So we can play a Recruiter, go and get Squee, and then we can crack off the Squee into the food chain as much as we want. So we're pretty close to doing something strong here. But our opponent has got 4 cards in hand and a bunch of mana ready to go. I imagine it's going to be a Surveil land at end step here. There it is. I don't know if they put the Underground Sea from earlier back because they daze and then they brainstorm, so they might have put that back and shuffled it away just then. Or that could be the Underground Sea right there. We just don't know. Teferi. Okay. They're going to bounce one of our guides. This feels maybe more like Doomsday, but double Lotus Petal. Doomsday decks tend not to run the full 4. They sometimes do though. But the Teferi builds. I'm not 100% sure what we're playing against here. Okay. This is some amount of stuff right here, isn't it? So I guess we go to attacks. So we have the win next turn, provided we can hit a land, which means we're probably playing out this Questing Druid. But we'll see what our opponent does here. A Dark Ritual. Okay, so we're getting some sort of Doomsday line, I believe. An Orcish Bowmasters. Okay. Really not 100% sure what our opponent is doing over there. So we need to do this Questing Druid now. So we need to seek the beast here. We did not find the land that we wanted. That is very problematic. And also the Walking Ballista that we want to win the game with is also now in our exile zone. We can play this, put it into our graveyard. We have no way of rebuying it from the graveyard. That was a pretty big swing and a miss right there. So because of Teferi, we had to do it then. Because it just gets us towards finding a land. I have to imagine our opponent is on some sort of Doomsday. Dark Rituals and Lotus Petals makes sense. Teferi's a good protection piece. And then we go for Guide of Souls first. Then we can jam this Ajani. Get a bunch of energy. And then next turn, we can make an infinitely large Questing Druid. For days. Okay, that's a days that's not pointed at our food chain, which is what we're going to need probably to get through this one. Can also make infinite energy here. 2 cards left in our opponent's hand. We've cut off their ability to attack. Collector Ouphe. So we could play out this Questing Druid. We get bounced here. So we can make infinite mana and then Imperial Recruiter this turn. What can we do with that infinite mana? Does Mawloc hit Planeswalkers? I don't believe it does. It just fights, right? Yeah, it's just target creature. So what could we go and find here? We could try an Amped Raptor into a... is it worth just doing it right now? We don't have a way of playing 2 creatures to get this Guide of Souls to kill the Teferi this turn. We could play the Food Chain. Our opponent's only got 2 cards in hand. We could just play something like a Squee, because they can't really do anything about the Squee. And it's just in play for next turn. If they bounce it, that's not the end of the world. Alright, I think we're going to go for this Squee and take it slightly slower. Since our opponent isn't winning the game and they haven't been for the last couple of turns. So we'll yield to this energy trigger. So we attack here. We'd lose 2 Orcish Bowmasters if that happens. I think we can just sit back for now. We're unlikely to do much to this Teferi. So they can ping down our Squee if they've got Bowmasters, but we don't really care about that because we can cast from the graveyard. I'm thinking about doing something at end step. Okay, they have sorceries at instant speed now. But just another land, that's probably not where they want to be. We'd like to have a land so we can at least play around the 3rd days if they have it. Okay, we have the thing we wanted. Let's put this Food Chain on the stack. So we can make infinite energy and then Amped Raptor for whatever we want. And Orcish Bowmasters. Sure. We don't get to make infinite energy right now, though. So we did have the Bowmasters here. So this means we don't get infinite energy, but we can still make an infinitely large creature. So if we exile this guy and play his Collector Ouphe, we're going to have to go through some hoops here. Alright, so then we will make some more mana here. This is a lot of clicking, which is why you don't see that much Food Chain on Magic Online. So this green, we'll play out this Squee again. Then we'll play out this Questing Druid. And we'll keep doing this and we'll yield to the trigger from the Questing Druid here. I'm going to cut to when something interesting happens. We're going to be clicking through this to make a load of mana for a bit. Okay, so now I'm going to cast this Imperial Recruiter. So this can go and find us. It probably has to be the Amped Raptor. We just have to try and send it here. This doesn't work, actually, because of Teferi, right? Yeah, because of Teferi, even if we find the thing, it doesn't work there. Alright. I guess we're just going to make our creature large. We don't want it to spend too much time clicking because our opponent's just going to bounce it with a Teferi. Okay, I'm happy with a 10-10 for now, that's fine. I think we're actually supposed to Imperial Recruiter for a Questing Druid so we can seek the beast next turn and try and find the Unstable Amulet. That makes a lot more sense. Bouncing our Food Chain rather than our massive creature. We've got Surveil Land we can reach for here. We want red-green here. Surveil action on the go. Our opponent might have a hard cast Force of Will. That's the impression that they are giving me right now. An Amped Raptor. If we're going to kill the Teferi, then this is okay. I'll put it on top. Go to attacks here. And we're going to attack into the Teferi here with everything. Let's get that gone. Let's try this Amped Raptor first. Because the Force of Will is quite telegraphed here. And I don't really want to play into it, so I'm going to play this and hold the Food Chain. Because we can force blocks on our Questing Druid here next turn. I imagine they will counterspell this, because we don't get the extra spell off of it until it resolves. It's not like Cascade. Yep, so there's the Force of Will that we knew was coming. Just send our Food Chain into it. Now, maybe having the Amped Raptor is better than the Food Chain. I'm not convinced, because we can force a chump block on our Questing Druid every turn, which means they can't really chump block the other guys, so we get more damage through. An Unstable Amulet. That is pretty handy, isn't it? Let's go for this. That's what we've been waiting for. Oh, we got another Force of Will. They do. Okay, we can go to attacks here. I'll send these 2 in. So they're living off the top, and we have an infinitely large creature. So they probably just chump block 3 turns in a row. But I'd rather have the Food Chain down before sending like the Squee and the Recruiter in, so that we can activate our Food Chain for infinite mana as soon as we have it in play. So having to play it and then untap and play the Squee that way. Alright, let's play this Food Chain. So our opponent is on 11, so we don't have to go super hard here. So we're just going to pump our Questing Druid till it's lethal. We don't get to attack the Squee this turn, but that's not that important. If they are on a Doomsday line, we can hopefully reduce their life total enough. Obviously, if you're doing this in paper, you can just say, I've demonstrated a loop, I have infinite mana, my creature is this large. Send these clowns in. So they could trade off with the Recruiter, but that does leave them dead next turn, so they're going to let it through and take 1 more damage, which might be relevant. We'll keep this card in hand, keep our opponent guessing. Alright, so we got the match. I'm not 100% sure what our opponent's doing. It did feel like Doomsday was happening. We saw Dark Ritual, saw Teferi and some stuff. Maybe they're like a tempo Doomsday build, but they don't get to run Psychic Frog anymore. We didn't see Tamiyo's, I don't know. I think playing the Amped Raptor when we did was possibly the one that could just cascade. The Recruiter when we recruited for Amped Raptor, I think that was a mistake. Having the first strike guy on board was certainly relevant on the board though, but maybe if we just get the Questing Druid and then try and draw the right cards with that, it might have been better. Also, the fact that we hit the Walking Ballista off of our Questing Druid and no land was really awkward, because if we hit a land and no Walking Ballista, we just have the win right there and then. Anyway, let's go to round 2. Alright, we've got a sort of pretty standard looking energy style hand here, so let's keep this one. So we want a white source here, so we probably just get a plains off of this one. Out with the Guide of Souls. So next turn we can play Amped Raptor, and we'll end up with quite a lot of energy. Just a basic forest, eh? With no follow-up. That is interesting. Okay, Amped Raptor. Let's see what you can do. Recently banned in Modern, I believe. So I want to put the Amped Raptor trigger on the bottom so we have more energy for when this resolves in case we hit a 3-drop we want to cast. A Guide of Souls. I will cast that. I will attack. And we're going to do the energy thing. Right now we've just got a reasonable amount of power in play. We've got removal of varying kinds, whether that's Mawloc or Swathe to Plowshares. We can't play the Mawloc until our Lush Portico is down, which is the downside of fetching the plains early doors. Right, our opponent has an Urza's Tower. So they could crop rotate away this forest right now. It's just a Grim Monolith. We're probably looking at some sort of Cloud Posty style deck, I would imagine. Another Amped Raptor. I don't mind if I do. Once again, we'll stack it so this resolves last. So we'll put this first when we're doing the clicking. Get a bunch of energy. Another Guide of Souls. Sure, why not? Let's go attacks. Let's grow our Amped Raptor, I think, here. Quite a lot of damage coming across here. Let's have a little bit of Surveil action. An Imperial Recruiter. What does that even find us here? How are we trying to win this game? We're just trying to smash through. I don't know if I want to play this Recruiter, though, because it will give our opponent potentially a bit more information. So if we surveil this, they'll see it. Kind of tricky there. She's got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we have lethal already. I think we'll put this into the graveyard for now. We just want something to get through in case they have some damage. Like if they can kill one of our creatures, we want to be able to push through our damage. A Blast Zone. So they can take out all of our Guide of Souls. That is a little bit awkward, isn't it? It's going to cost them their Grim Monolith, though. Not a bad trade for our opponent there, though. Food Chain. That doesn't really do what we need to do right now. I think we are attacking. So this will put our opponent down to, what, 3? So if we just make a 3-3, that's another lethal blocker, and I think that's a fine thing to be doing. We haven't seen any of our Food Chain. They've seen the Recruiter, which is a little bit of a red flag. So we just got a Mawloc in there. Little Tyrannid card. For all you fellow Games Workshop geeks out there. Let's have a look what we're going to be facing this turn. Something like the One Ring off of a Planar Nexus would be annoying, but they didn't have it. So we get to continue doing what we're doing. I suspect the Galactique is going to be useful here. And aside from that, I'm uncertain what we want. Because we definitely don't want these carpets. They're probably not playing multiple spells in a turn. Although, if they've got this Grim Monolith, maybe they're doing something... I don't know. I don't know if they're trying to ramp out one big thing, like a Cloud Post deck. Or maybe they're trying to do a bunch of like keys and that sort of nonsense. It's hard to tell from what we've seen. I don't think we want the Deafening Silence, but I could be wrong on that one. So we didn't really see much in the way of creatures, so I think we can just drop a Plow for a T. Do you want the cages to stop something like our opponent having Mystic Forge? But again, we don't know if that's going to be that useful. I think we just go in like this with the one change, because they're probably going to have the One Ring in their deck. That's one of the few things that we can be relatively sure about. And Galactique is going to be good. It's going to stop Kozilek's Command. It's going to stop the One Ring. It's going to stop a bunch of things. Makes of the Moon. That feels like a pretty good card here, but our hand is quite slow. Can I keep a hand this slow, just relying on the Portico to get us there? Maybe. We'll try it for science, right? Maybe a turn 3 Magus is good enough. Yeah, so we are looking more at Cloud Post. So I'm glad we don't bring in the Deafening Silences. And Ocelot Pride. So we found a guy. We probably want to fetch white if we're playing a Magus the Moonline. So we're going to go and fetch our planes now. That way if we find a fetch, we can find a green source for the turn after. Alright. Ocelot Pride. Just a little pussycat. Nothing to be scared of, opponent. Once upon a time, what are they going to reveal? A Sowing Mycospawn. That's certainly an irritating one. Hopefully, we can get the Magus down before they can get this down. Otherwise, it probably doesn't matter. Glimmer Post. Right, so they've got an Elvish Spirit guy. They just get to dump this Mycospawn into play right now. A Grim Monolith, okay. The One Ring. Yep. Okay. That is a bit of a problem. A Wooded Foothills. So this can get us the green for next turn. So that we can play perfectly underneath Blood Moon. Problem is we have to be able to play through the Blood Moon. We have to be able to play through this One Ring. We can Imperial Recruiter for it. For the Collector Ouphe. But they're going to be able to get quite a few cards out of it first. Unless we immediately hit something like a Squee. We still don't have enough mana though. We could hit on the turn after when we have 4 lands in play if we find the Squee. Then we can Recruiter up the Ouphe. But we have a plan. I'm just not sure we'll be able to execute the plan. Okay, so this is not a green source. Okay, they had a Spirit Guide in hand. So they're going to blow up all of our lands now if they want to. Okay. I'm not a big fan of what's happening right now. I don't think we can afford to get a Surveil land here because we need to have access to a green source. We're not going to be able to have a white source here. Yeah, okay, we're just not winning this game. Let's be honest. Like, sure, there are some little lines there, but it's not really fun for you watching me trying to stumble through and get there. Okay, what do we want here? None of these things really seem relevant. I think we're just going to go and submit the deck again. Just being on the play will hopefully be enough. But yeah, so Mycospawn is a pretty messed up Magic the Gathering card. I think if it didn't hit basics, I'd probably be okay with it. Because fetching basics is quite the cost in Legacy. So you do that to play around Wasteland, and all of a sudden you've got this other card that doesn't care that you've done that. It's a little rude. I don't like this one. It's already like a mulligan to 5, pretty much. It's aggressive. If we find a land on our second turn, and we can go pretty wild here. We've got the combo. I am going to keep this. Now, if we don't find a second land, and we just do nothing, sure. But this is the sort of hand that might be able to snowball out of control. Okay, let's go and get this Ocelot Pride down. I'm a little bit worried about the Tabernacle from our opponent as well. Which is quite good against this Ajani Ocelot Pride thing. Now, we do have the backup Food Chain. Maybe we just Food Chain them out. And we don't have to care about the Tabernacle as an option. But we're going to need more land. And we're going to need a tutor or a payoff. I think if we can draw land on the next turn. The natural Tabernacle on turn 1. That is a bit of a tough beat there. We're not going to draw a land now either, are we? I think we're going to be pretty cold to what our opponent's doing. Unless we can draw the sort of runner lands. And then we have the ability to maybe combo off. We've got, what, 9 draws that would allow us to combo off once we have a land underneath us. Unstable Amulet is kind of awkward because you can't use Food Chain mana to cast the Amulet. Blast Zone. Yep, that's a Blast Zone, alright. Oh no. The Elvish Spirit Guide as well. A Crop Rotation for a Wasteland. Okay. Not enjoying this a great deal right now. Now, we did keep a 1 land, so that's kind of on us a little bit. But it is also a little bit unfortunate for us they happen to have the turn 1 Tabernacle. Now, obviously they could have a turn 1 green source crop rotate. Okay. Our opponent only has 4 cards in hand. They've kind of stopped what we're doing for a little bit. Okay, Planar Nexus. They could have 4 mana next turn. Fun times for us. Okay, so we have lethal in hand. We just need the mana to deploy it before our opponent casts an Emrakul or whatever. But if they get to a certain point where they're just playing Mycospawns every turn, then we just lose to that anyway. Because we never get enough mana to play the game. Okay. We get to discard some cards. So if they have a way of exiling our graveyard, that's not a problem. If they have a way of shuffling our graveyard back in, that is a problem. So I think we're supposed to discard the Questing Druid rather than the Squee here. Even though we might be able to cast a Squee, I don't want our opponent to just have an Endurance. Because the Cloud Post decks can have enough green cards to run Endurance if they want to. Not always. Not all the builds can do that. There are certainly some builds that have access to enough green cards to do that. Okay, our opponent has a lot of mana for next turn. They're going to be able to cast a One Ring most likely, and that's probably just game over. A Forest. So the plan is to draw another land, play a Questing Druid, untap, play Food Chain, generate infinite mana, and then win the game somehow? A Caracas. Interesting. It's not really going to interact with our Squee that meaningfully. Alright, we're just not going to draw anything that works there. I think we get rid of this source to Plowshares. So our opponent should be able to win here, because they're going to be able to tap the ring 3 times, and that is normally where the game ends. A Sowing Magus Kit. Yeah, we don't get to play Magic anymore. Yeah, there's some pretty messed up cards out there. And we kept a little bit of a shaky hand where if we draw some land, it works out really well for us. Now, we drew 1 land and we're 12 cards deep in our deck. That is statistically unlikely. But we're also under pressure from our opponent's ability to disrupt our mana. But I liked our hand because we had an aggro plan to start off with. So we could start doing the Ocelot Pride maybe into Ajani, and that's pretty good. And then we also have the backup of if they do sweep our creatures, then we can just do the whole Food Chain combo off because we had that in hand. But yeah, the turn 1 Tabernacle just completely undercut the first plan, and then we just got wastelanded out after that. Alright, let's go to round 3. So we'll probably go Surveil Land into Ajani. That's okay. So we probably want to get a green Surveil Land. Volcanic Fissure tapped. So if we go and get probably the Lush Portico. Amped Raptor. Sure, that does some things. I think I'm in the market for playing our mountain out. Just get some power on board. Start turning this sideways. And then we have a red permanent. Well, we have multiple red permanents here. So we can turn on the good side of the Planeswalker. So instead of just making a guy, it's also blowing stuff up. Okay. Do you want to attack here? I don't think you do. Maybe you do. I will block and get our sweet little cat action. So now the plan is to... Oh, okay. We're getting a 2-for-1 off of this, but this is going to leave them with a Lalia. Now, we have lots of ways of killing this card. We've got Broadside Bombardiers out of their hand. That's pretty good. We will need to answer this to win the game, but I believe we can do that. Alright, Amped Raptor. Let's see what you can do for us. An Unstable Amulet. Yes, please. Kind of makes this Collector Ouphe a little bit bad. So we can pay 2 energy and exile top card of our library. And we have a Guide of Souls. Not a bad one to find. I will deploy this Guide of Souls. So hopefully we can offset the life loss from this Lalia with our Guide of Souls. The card advantage it brings is a little bit trickier though. Because we kind of just need to tread water a little bit until we can get this Mawloc down. But the problem is this grows every turn. Now we do have a bunch of Source of Plowshares in our deck. The One Ring. Okay. So if they play the One Ring, we can play the Collector Ouphe. Now, it shuts off our Unstable Amulet. We don't have any more energy, so that's not really the worst. Now, and if we do have any energy, this shutting off Plow is pretty good. And a Fury. Wowzers trousers. Okay. This can be the Lalia going all the way. We do have a Skyclave Apparition, which can just deal with this Lalia. Guide of Souls that we can't cast. Well, we can cast, we just get countered. We have a Mawloc. We can make the Mawloc big enough to kill this and just reset the game. Is that what we have to do now? Because this is just going to grow every turn anyway and draw them extra cards. I think that's where we're at here. We know they've got the One Ring in hand. We fight. We trade them off. An expensive removal spell, but our opponent has the One Ring. So play the One Ring, they tap it once. We play Collector Ouphe. And then we've got something going. Our opponent spent a lot of resources keeping the board clean. Yeah. Not my favourite art for the One Ring, if I'm being perfectly honest. Call me a boomer, but I think Magic cards should look like Magic cards. Anyway. So now we get to do our Collector Ouphe and Amped Raptor. That's pretty good as a little combo. Do we want to play the Amped Raptor first? I think we do. Another Amped Raptor. Sure. I will cast that. Now also ping them for 1 with this Unstable Amulet. some energy. So we can activate this now to get another card. And then we can play the Ouphe. An Imperial Recruiter. I don't think that is better than getting the Ouphe down though. So next turn we can Recruiter for whatever. If we find a food chain, we do just have the win here. So we can go and get the Squee and just ping them off with the Unstable Amulet. Alright, the Broadside Bombardiers is pretty solid here. They have to kill one of our Amped Raptors here. If they let us go to blocks, this is going to go poorly for them. Okay. They're unlocking their One Ring, but they're losing their Broadside Bombardiers for it, which isn't the worst for us. Turns back on our Unstable Amulet if we end up in a situation where we're paying energy to draw cards. These Ancient Tombs are not free for our opponent, since we are trying to pressure their life total right now. Another Amped Raptor. What can I go and find with this Imperial Recruiter right now? I think we play... because they got rid of the Chalice now, so we can play out this Guide of Souls. And then we can play out this Amped Raptor. Skyclave Apparition. Yes, please. This comes in. And we take out the One Ring. Let's crash a 4. We don't have the energy to make anything big. But next turn we play the Recruiter, and that should be pretty good. Now they could play another copy of the One Ring and protect themselves. That's what they're doing. So the Ancient Tomb doesn't hurt in this turn because of the One Ring protection. Alright, they're playing a Chalice again. Okay. So I think we want to cast this guy. This doesn't deal any damage because of the One Ring. What can we find here that actually makes a big difference? We could Squee, so we just have lethal if we find a food chain. We could get the Walking Ballista just as a thing to just chunk a load of mana into. Could just get another Recruiter and just generate some more energy. That's not the worst, is it? I'll take another Recruiter here. And crack this. So we're getting more and more energy as we do this. So we could crack the Unstable Amulet right now and see if it gets us the food chain or something we require. And we can make some informed decisions. I think that is slightly better here. And another Unstable Amulet. Okay. So we could Questing Druid and then ping them down a bunch. That seems pretty good. There's no point attacking here because I have protection from the One Ring they got there. But we can go Unstable Amulet. It's going to get us quite far in this game, I would imagine. We're on a high load total as well, so we're not just going to get randomly windmilled out. We've already seen 2 Furies. They're going to go to 4 on the next turn, so they're probably dead if they don't One Ring now, or play something that mashes our board up. They can kill the Skyclave and then get access to a 4/4, which is going to be pretty good on blocks. But we do have the ability to fly over with any one creature, so we could fly over with an Amped Raptor and kill them. Alright, so we've got a Chrome Mox over there. What is that? A Blood Moon, sure. A Magus of the Moon. That doesn't seem like where you want to be, opponent. That doesn't stop you from dying. They have some mana left over there. But we have all of our colours, and they're scooping it up. Okay. I thought as much. So, we would like to be able to kill their creatures. We would also like to stop the One Ring. Are we stopping it with Garrote? What does this actually stop from our opponent's deck? Is it just the One Ring? Shadow Skull Smashing gets stopped as well, I suppose. Stops Chalices coming down. Like, this is playable. It's not the most exciting, but it's playable. We would very much like to keep our Plows, because they are very good here. Now, our opponent does have the irritation that is Chalice of the Void. We don't want this Magus of the Moon, so that can become a Fury. That's an easy one. We want the Collector Ouphe. We obviously want our combo stuff. Are we shaving on some of the 1-drops because they get worse? So maybe we shave on like an Ocelot Pride to get us another Fury. Maybe we shave on a second Ocelot Pride. Maybe Guide of Souls as well. Just have all these Furies. We could trim down on the Plows. But I think the Plows are going to be pretty handy here because we need to be able to just stop the broadside. I don't think we're bringing Garrote. I think we'll use our Collector Ouphe as our way of stopping their One Ring. Now, it does stop our own Walking Ballista, but we're the ones in charge, and of when that card comes into play in terms of the Collector Ouphe. So we can decide if it's a thing we actually want in play, or if we want to just say, no, we're just going to kill you with our Walking Ballista. Souls, second land comes in tapped, but we do have an infinite combo here if we can find some red mana. Our opponent might help us out with the red mana, but we're going to need to find some green mana. Interesting. I think I will keep this. Squee is also very happy to be pitched to a Fury and just come back later on anyway. Opponent's modeled to 5. Wonder what their plan is. They could just be going for like an early Blood Moon. We can beat the Blood Moon. We've boarded in a bunch more red cards as well to help us beat it. Volcanic Fissure tapped. Okay, so we get to play our 1-drop. I think I would rather have the Guide of Souls than the Ocelot Pride here. It's close though. This does mean we actually have a good turn 2 where we play Ocelot Pride and Lush Portico. But if they Blood Moon us now, then we don't get to do that. Simian Spirit Guide. It's the 1 ring, sure. So we don't get to deal damage to our opponent this turn, but we do get to gain some life off of the Guide of Souls trigger, which is why stacking this way around is better. Another Guide of Souls. I think I would rather get the Ocelot Pride running now. Put Surveil action on. Like to find a red source. That seems good to me. We have the win next turn. Also, another cool thing that this deck does is where you're making these Ocelot Pride cats, each one of them is 1 mana underneath Food Chain. So next turn, we can play Food Chain, we can sacrifice these until we get the Squee in play, and then we just ping the Squee off a bunch of times and Walking Ballista them out. We can do this in a way where we get to keep our Guide of Souls, so we'll gain infinite life while we're doing it. Second thoughts, maybe we don't get to do that. Alright, they're pitching a Broadside Bombardiers to Fury us down. Our opponent is very unlikely to be able to blow up a Food Chain once it's in play. So I'm just going to play this Food Chain now. That way, even if we get Blood Mooned, we still win the game next turn. I love Food Chain. What a great card. Alright. Good luck, opponent. I guess they could Chalice here and we could not draw a red source. No, we can still play this though, right? And that gets us up to where we need to be. A Broadside Bombardiers. That is unlikely to do enough here. Okay, they're playing a land out and just holding up. So we could have some sort of dead and gone type stuff. We don't care about that. We kind of just have a wealth of riches here. So we could play the Guide of Souls out, then we could play out the Mawloc. Do we need to make infinite mana here? I don't think we do. We have so many ways of winning this game. Oh, sorry, infinite life. Of course we need infinite mana though. Let's play this Guide of Souls out. And do I want this Unstable Amulet or are we just going to do Squee things? We'll just do Squee things here. We're going to gain infinite life doing this. So just in case something goes awry, we're not fighting the Bombardiers because we want the mana from the Mawloc. Out comes the Squee. How do you feel about us having infinite life opponent? Because we also have infinite damage. Alright, they're killing our guy. I will sack this for red. So we don't gain infinite life. Our opponent's giving us the GG. I told them we have the blister in hand. If they want to scoop up, then I will obviously show them my hand at the end. There's a lot of clicking involved. But part of playing Magic Online is you have this chess clock. And you need to be able to use your time efficiently on it. Alright, we've got a decent chunk of mana here. We need 24 mana for a lethal one, so just keep going. I'm going to do this in a way that we leave the Squee in play just in case something weird happens. Our opponent has given us the GGs though. But we only got one more loop to do and plenty of time on the clock. There is the Walking Ballista. Let's ping our opponent down. Alright, so they obviously had to see the Ballista and you can never fight your opponent for making you show them it. Alright, we are 2-1. Let's go to round 4. Alright, we're going Pussycat heavy here. I think this is an interesting one to try out. We're on the play. So we get to go Pride into Pride and then make 2 cats. And then things really snowball out of control very quickly from there on. A Swamp. So we could be seeing something like a Fatal Push here. Just a thought seize. They're probably going to take the other Ocelot Pride. That would be my guess. Since taking Squee here does not really accomplish anything. Unless they want to reanimate our Squee so we can never get access to it. Which would be an interesting line. Yep, there goes Ocelot Pride. Not a shocker at all. So that does slow down our aggro quite a lot. Let's attack. And then I will just play out this commercial district and get a little bit of surveil action going. An Amped Raptor. That is some action, isn't it? Let's keep that on top. Now we get ourselves a 1-1 cat. So we have 4 permanents. We're a long way off the City's Blessing. But Amped Raptor can do some silly things and put a bunch more permanents in play. Maybe find another Ocelot Pride. And all of a sudden we're spiraling out. We don't know what our opponent's doing. They've got a Bloodstained Mire now, which the start kind of gives me the vibes of Reanimator. Like Black-Red Star Reanimator, where they're going to be, you know, attacking our hand and doing that sort of thing. But they could also be Storm. Okay, another black source. Stalactite Stalker. Okay, so they might be mono black, just using fetch lands to power out things like Stalker and Fatal Push. They're reanimating our Ocelot Pride. Okay. Intriguing. So an Amped Raptor coming. What have you got for us? Little dinosaur. A Questing Druid. So I could cast either side of it. That is interesting. I'm going to Seek the Beast. Right, I'll play out this Plains. I don't really care for the Makes of the Moon there. Attacking doesn't feel great right now. But blocking is fine for us because we have a lot of first strike. So we can double block the Stalker. And then strike it down with the Amped Raptor or whatever. If they attack the Ocelot Pride, we can trade. That's not the worst. But we're looking to just play Questing Druid and start leveling it up. If we find a Food Chain, we can obviously pop off. I don't believe our opponent is running green spells in their deck. I think the Underground Mortuary is just there as a surveil land to make their fetch lands better. Barrow Goyf getting thrown away. That is really scary, to be honest. Why would you throw away a Barrow Goyf? That guy's good. They might already have another Barrow Goyf. A Nether Goyf. Okay, that large creature is certainly a problem. Okay, another large creature. Now, we can make large creatures of our very own. It's going to take a bit. But at least our life total is stable for now. We got here an Imperial Recruiter. What does Imperial Recruiter find here? We can... that doesn't really work quite how I want it to. So if we have a look at our deck, we could Imperial Recruiter for like a Mawloc just to remove some stuff, or a Skyclave, or like Ajani is pretty reasonable actually. We can't cast it this turn though, so I don't know if that's where I want to spend my time. I think we're going to go get a Surveil land. We're just going to play the Questing Druid and then get a Surveil land. This next turn from our opponent is going to hurt a bit, but I think we just have to live with that. So we could have Imperial Recruited for the Guide of Souls, but I don't think that's really where I want to be. We could Imperial Recruiter for Questing Druid, try and get the cards to Food Chain. Our opponent's deck is not very likely to be able to handle the Food Chain combo. Like, they have to Thoughtseize out of our hand, really, but once we're up and running, they can't really interrupt it. It's not like they're going to have any counter spells or clutch moments. How are we going to block this turn? That is a question, isn't it? We have to see what our opponent's doing attack-wise. We at least have 21 life, so we're in a relatively healthy spot. We can afford to use our life total as a resource and keep some creatures around for now. Okay, just the 3/4s. Sure, I can take 6 here. All these creatures are mana down the line. They're also permanents for the City's Blessing, which might be quite useful. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if we draw a Guide of Souls, we can get the City's Blessing and really start popping off. Now our opponent has Stalactite Stalker as removal if they want it. Okay, they're just playing a Barrow Goyf. That is a creature I would rather block than a Nether Goyf. Right, let's go and get our other Surveil land. It's the Lush Portico, isn't it? Do we need that, or do we need another red source? We actually do need another red source here, don't we? We can't really get the Surveil land if we want to try and cast this Squee. That means just getting another Taiga here. Walking Ballista. Well, we have a bunch of stuff. It's not quite the stuff we want though, is it? So the good thing about Squee is we can just block with it over and over and over again. And that is very irritating for our opponent. So now we could Recruiter for Guide of Souls. Or we could Recruiter for... If we Recruiter for the Mawloc, we can kill the Ocelot Pride. Is that worth doing? Is that not... it doesn't feel amazing. I think I like getting the Guide of Souls here. Although this Ocelot Pride is going to start making a bunch of irritating creatures. So maybe we are just going to get the Mawloc here. So we could get the Questing Druid and try and high roll into having the Food Chain. That is an option we have. I think I quite like just Mawlocking here. So now we have the City's Blessing. Green, red here. This will also grow our Questing Druid. Hopefully makes it easier for our opponent to not go wide. Sorry, harder for our opponent to go wide against us. That's the correct way of wording. We didn't make any tokens, so we didn't get to Ocelot Pride right now. But what we can start doing from here on out is just playing Squee every turn, blocking with it, and then it grows our Questing Druid and keeps their creatures at bay. So they might be in a situation where they want to use a Stalactite Stalker to kill our Questing Druid very soon. I will block this Barragoyf, and I will take the 6. Once we have the City's Blessing, we can't lose it. It's just a thing that once you've achieved that, it's just a thing you can rely on for the rest of the game. So they're holding up the Stalactite Stalker. That's pretty solid. They know we have the Squee in hand, so they'll trade this off into the Druid. But if we have like a Plow that we draw this turn, we can really mess our opponent up. Okay, we did not have the Plow. They have to kill this right now. If they do, we get to attack with Ocelot Pride though and make 2 tokens. So our opponent is in a bit of a bind. Because once this gets big enough to just check the Nethergoyfs, we can just chump block this Barragoyf every turn with the Squee. Oh wow, we're just in with it, are we? Okay. We can even just do a pretty fair Walking Ballista soon. Like, we're close to making a 4/4 Ballista, which is actually really solid on this board. Putting a artifact in the graveyard, not great for the purposes of this Barragoyf though. An opposition agent. Ah, I see. But there's not amazing choices for our opponent here. Unstable Amulet can do some work for us potentially. Since we're going to be casting a Squee every turn anyway, we can grind our opponent down a little bit, get some extra cards going. If we can find some sort of energy outlet. Almost feels like a game of Limited of just shoving a bunch of creatures. Obviously the quality of the creatures here is pretty high. So they're holding up a Stalker so they can hit our Questing Druid. So we will block here. And do want to try and kill this Barragoyf. So we could just like, if we put this here and they sacrifice this guy, this will die to their Nethergoyf. But we will trade for the Stalker, which is kind of fine. And then we can put some damage here. And then if they kill, like, if they kill this guy, then they just kill this. So we're trading 2 for 1 if we do that. Alright. We could just chump block here. Do we have to chump block because of their menace? Maybe. Alright. Let's just do it like this. Be a shame to lose our Questing Druid here. But it gives us the ability to play the Ballista, ping this down, attack them, and then just make a load of cats. Okay, so going for the line that we thought they might go for. I think if we're making 2 cats a turn against our opponent's pretty fair aggro deck, and they've got rid of their only evasive creature. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I think we are in the play this for 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Play this one out. Ping down the Oppo agent. We get to attack with the Pride here. This means that we can't just combo with Food Chain straight away, because we can't use the Food Chain mana to use the activate ability of this. But we get 2 cats here. And that is plenty of chump block fodder. We can take 3. If they attack with everything, we take 3. And then we just get to crash a little bit, get some more Ocelot Pride going. We can always just start funneling more and more mana into our Walking Ballista as well. Are you all coming in? Are you all coming in? I'm happy to take 3 here. We could double block and try and force something out, but I don't even think that's necessary right now. If we draw another land, we can put 2 counters on this every turn. But we also just have the permanent chump blocker of Squee waiting in the wings. And Raptor can find us some useful stuff as well next turn. I don't want to see something like a Sheoldred here. That would be pretty scary. Obviously, I've just spoke that into existence, but here we are. A Dauthi Voidwalker. Okay. That has evasion, but we can kill it using our Walking Ballista. Dauthi Voidwalker. Okay, they have 2 of them. That is lethal on board. That is not ideal for us. Swords 2 Plowshares, though. That is pretty good. Right, let's start with the Amped Raptor, I believe. Imperial Recruiter. That's not one we get to cast. So you can plow one of these. We can then put a counter on this. The Ocelot Pride gets to attack because these have shadows. They can't block it. So we'll take our free attack here. Then I will put a counter on this now so we don't get messed up by any timings. And now we just hold up this plow. Make 2 cats. So we kind of want the Walking Ballista in the exile zone so that it doesn't pump the Goyfs. See what we go for here. Going for a bunch of stuff here. Get a blocks. So we probably block on the Barragoyf and then remove the counters to kill a Dauthi Voidwalker. And then what are we doing? Try and first strike down one of these guys. And then just chump block the other one. Okay. So they have to act before the first strike damage, really. Although you can just let this first strike damage go through and then start worrying about these things. Just ping this guy down, I think. First strike damage, boom. And now we can decide if we want to plow this Dauthi Voidwalker, which I think I do. Just change the power of any of their creatures. Yes? No. It'll change the power of the Barragoyf, right? Because there's no instance yet. But we can keep chump blocking this Barragoyf forever. Something like Shoulder is what we don't want to see here. Replay a Goyf. Have they got enough types? Sorcery, land, creature. No, they need 4 types to bring back the Nether Goyf. So they got something else. Our opponent's probably going to gain quite a lot of life as this game drags on. But we do have the ability to go to the top. That's going to be a lot clicking for us, though. But at least we don't have the Walking Ballista kill, which requires double the number of clicks that you want to deal damage. Whereas the Unstable Amulet is just 1 click per damage. Or 1 cycle, I guess. Shoulder's Edict. Sacrifice a non-token creature of their choice. Interesting. Feels like they're trying to reanimate our Mawloc here. How annoying is it if they do that? If they reanimate the Mawloc and kill our Ocelot Pride, that is kind of a big deal. If they reanimate an Amped Raptor, it doesn't do anything, but then we lose our first strike ability to this down. I think I'm going to lose an Amped Raptor here, because I don't want them to be able to reanimate our Mawloc and kill the Ocelot Pride. Now, they might just be able to reanimate the Amped Raptor and stop our Ocelot Pride from attacking, which is awkward as well. Well, they do have a Bayou. Right, so this is going to put the Nether Goyf back in, because now they have an instant in their own, but they're going to make their Goyf very small. No, they're not going to make their Goyf very small at all, because they've got plenty of types. Understood. Alright, come on deck. Now we obviously can just keep doing Squee stuff, which I guess is what we're doing. I'll play another 2-power creature. I do not believe we can attack on this board, but we have the infinite blocker. So we want to try and get this Barragoyf off the board as soon as possible. We can put a bunch of stuff in front of it now, though. And leaving one guy back. So if we block with this, that's kind of disposable, that's kind of disposable. I think we block with all of the... Oh, it has Death Touch, though, it's such a pain. I don't really want them to be able to reanimate my Mawloc. So if we block like this, we lose all 3 of these guys, we do take the Barragoyf out. If they kill one of these creatures, that's kind of bad for us. So maybe we have to put the Mawloc down, the cat token down as well. But that makes things a little bit awkward for us, doesn't it? We're just giving up another piece. They've got 1 card in hand. If it's a removal spell, and they take out any... Yeah, I think we have to block in case it is a removal spell. Not a fan of this, unfortunately, but needs must. Right, so they just get to kill all of our guys there. But we've cleared the Barragoyf. Now, if they reanimate the Barragoyf, that's going to be annoying for us. A Dauthi Voidwalker. That has some amount of evasion. An Imperial Recruiter. Okay, this does some stuff for us, doesn't it? So we go 1, 2, 3. We can go and get a Skyclave. Is there anything better than a Skyclave here? If we get Ajani, play Ajani, we attack with the Ocelot Pride, they don't block it, we get more cats and we gain life. If they do block it, we flip the Ajani, we plus it, we kill the Dauthi Voidwalker. That's pretty solid. Our opponent's got no cards in hand. Either of those routes feels pretty strong to me. So I think we are on the Ajani line here. But if we play the Ajani, we attack with the Ocelot Pride, they let it through, they just kill us in 2 hits is the issue there. Maybe we do have to get the Skyclave. Just can't let them have this creature. Okay. So something real has to go under the bus this turn, I think. So they got 1, 2, 3 creatures, 4 creatures, 2 lands, a Thoughtseize. Okay. So if we kill a Nethergoyf, it's likely to stay away for a while. They're just going to attack with both creatures here. I think they probably will. Okay, do I want to give them a 2-2 here or not? I think we can just chump this turn and then we can get the Squee and use Squee Mawloc to block next turn. Weird game, this one. A Swords 2 Plowshares. Don't hate that one. If we plow this Nethergoyf, we can get in with our Ocelot Pride. Get that sweet selection of pussycats. And we also get to play our Squee here. Squee just as an object has actually been pretty good this game. Alright, we're getting some cats. We're gaining 1 life a turn. We've got cats. We can block this Nethergoyf. Is Nethergoyf back on blocks? Could be. Guide of Souls would be pretty nice here. I don't think there's any point attacking here, unfortunately. We just pass the turn. We'll leave this land in hand to keep our opponent guessing, make them think about things like Solitude, which is something that you could conceivably see in our deck. It was even in their previous build. Alright, they've got Bayou. That's probably not what they want. They didn't play that last turn. Maybe it is what they wanted. Okay, a Troll of Khazad-dûm. We can block this. We also have Source of Plowshares in our deck. An Arid Mesa. We do have another Surveil land. We have a Lush Portico, so I will play this land out. And I will pass the turn. So we have to put a decent amount of stuff in front of this Troll, but it's worth it. They have plenty of life, so if they've got Reanimates, they can just keep bringing them back. But if they had Reanimates, then the Barragoyf would be in play. I will take 2 free damages. So now they know we have the Plateaus, and they put holding this in hand. Do you want to trade your Troll? They'll get a Mawloc and a cat token, which is pretty good. I think it's worth attacking, given our life total. 1 card in hand. Is it a removal spell? Who knows? I think I'm going to block with... Do I want to block with both cats? That plays around Shoulder's Edict. Actually, it doesn't play around Shoulder's Edict. Alright, we just block like this. 2, 4, 5 damage. This doesn't have trample. Alright, they're on the damage step, so we get to take it out. We lose a Mawloc, which gives them a good reanimate target if they just want some removal. Okay, they're just going to bring back their own Troll. Sure. I'm going to do some surveilling and hopefully find something useful. Not many lands left in our deck here. An Unstable Amulet. Yeah, I'll have that. That gives me some card draw. Okay, red and 1. Let's get the Amulet going. Get some energy. So Squee is going to start burning them down a little bit. It's not really what we're about though. And Ajani. That is very good here. So if we play the Ajani out now... Got a lot of triggers and stuff, so we need to be a little bit careful our time. Our clocks are pretty close, so we're both playing at a similar pace. So if we attack with this Ocelot Pride, we either get to flip this Ajani and kill their Troll, or we get to make some tokens. So this is a pretty solid attack here. Would you rather I have some 1/1s, or would you rather I have a Planeswalker? They want me to have the Planeswalker, interesting. Alright, let's get this Squee down. Our opponent has no cards in hand. Not sure why we were playing around stuff when they didn't have anything in hand. Alright, so we create a cat, and then we dome something for 5. Let's dome this guy for 5. Get out of here, you. And they know we have this land in hand, so we might as well just play it. And I believe we have established ourselves in a position that should be quite easy to win from. We just have make a guy kill their board every single turn. We have a chump blocker every turn that also deals them a little bit of damage. We've got 1 more card stored up on the Amulet because we've got some energy floating. Alright, I'm liking where we're at. Alright, our opponent also likes where we're at. Good. Okay, our opponent's deck is doing some reanimate shenanigans, but it's also playing some guys I want dead. So some number of this stuff is where I want to be. I do not want a Magus of the Moon. That seems like an easy cut. The Skyclave Apparition is removal, and I think removal is going to be quite a key part of how this game plays out. Do I want to play Reanimate to hate? Like, I don't think they're doing full-on Reanimate. I think they're just like scamming stuff. We don't need the Collector Ouphe. That's bought us 2 Furies, which I think are very good here. What do we want next? We can probably trim a little bit on Food Chain. We don't want to get flooded with Food Chains. And then we have 1 more cut. I think all this sort of stuff actually proved to be pretty strong. The card advantage is playing a fair game also felt pretty strong. Where are we going here? Is it removing a Recruiter? I can see that, just to get another Fury in. We don't have any spicy singletons we want particularly. Obviously, Ajani is kind of one of them, but we only want that in certain situations. I think this is probably a fine place to be. We've just got loads of card advantage and removal. Like, a lot of our creatures are 2-for-1s in and of themselves. Okay, so this is Plateau, Guide of Souls, Amped Raptor. Yes, This hand seems to do good energy things. Now we can get Thought Seized, have a hand a little bit more awkward for us. I don't mind where we're at. This could just be a Stalactite Stalker. It's a Netherglyph. Just a 1-2. Our opponent may have Wastelands. Something we need to keep aware of. Okay, so this is Plateau. Let's make our little Guide of Souls friend. I don't think this is worth burning a Fury on now. I can take 1 or 2 damage. Just want to get our engine up and running. So we can Unstable Amulet, then we can Amped Raptor, and then we can have a 4-drop. Not that we have many. Okay, just a Fatal Push. Just a good old-fashioned Fatal Push. We're getting attacked for 2, that's fine. If we get to 3 mana, we get to Mawloc this, which is a pretty good rate. Do I want to Unstable Amulet or Amped Raptor? There is a chance that we Amped Raptor and it doesn't hit anything. But at least it's something on board. Whereas the Unstable Amulet, I guess we're not under that much pressure. I'm going to try the Amulet. This means we can dig towards land if we need it. We don't want to do that until next turn, obviously. We could play the other Amulet and just really start working on the damages. All right, so they have a Wasteland now. So we're very much in the let's use our Amulet to find a land stage of the game. So this means we will tap our Amulet in our opponent's end step. Another Unstable Amulet. Not the land we're looking for, but maybe that's taking the card off the top and lets us draw into the land. Or maybe not. Okay, this is pretty bad news for us. Does our opponent have anything at end step? Right, we're at least getting a little bit of advantage on the clock because we don't get to do anything, our opponent does. So Fury is a little bit awkward here. And it does work. If we target both of these, they take damage and then they die at the same time, right? Okay, I think we need to get another Plateau and just play this Amped Raptor this turn. We got an opposition agent, have we? How very fun for us. Okay. Not the nicest. Okay, so now I think we are evoking this Fury. And we can take out these guys. So any white source, we get to take out the Netherglyph. Our opponent is relatively low on resources. We can maybe stabilize. There's the Commercial District they took from us just to get that Surveil action. They left it on top. We're going to get Bash for 3 here. So we don't have a lot of turns left before this kills us. But, you know, we have some answers in hand. Draw a white source, we can plow it. If they have another opposition agent, then sucks to be us, I guess. Okay, so I think we are probably just ploughing this. Probably want to wait till our opponent's turn in case something that requires a different answer. So if they have something like an opposition agent that we really want to nail, we can do that. But we're just going to plough this. They know we have a plough, so they saw our hand when they opposition agented. Paying some costs for something. A Witherbloom Command. Okay. So we can still play this because of the way the ability works is you can play it until you exile another card. So now I'm just going to plough this guy. Get him out for good. We've got Plague Engineer over there. They returned a Wasteland, so they're probably going to be attacking our mana base, one would imagine. But we get a turn to put something on the board. I would very much like to cast as Ajani, please. So we could flip this immediately by furying our own creature. So we could Fury away the cat warrior. That's going to take a lot of resources from our hand. I don't think I want to do that. If they have a removal spell for our Ajani, that's obviously a pain. But if they have a removal spell, they can do it in response to our Fury, and that's even worse. Whereas this way we can try this out by smashing their Fury down. Smashing whatever creature they play with our Fury. Alright, a Wasteland, sure. So we probably have to win with what we have in play. But that's perfectly reasonable with the Planeswalker. Now we can draw some more lands as well. But if they play a creature and just turn on our Fury. Plague Engineer. They're going to name Dinosaur, I assume. They named cats. They want to flip our Ajani. I don't think that's a great idea for them. They have got an Orcish Bowmasters here to finish it off. Sure. Okay. That's pretty good. We do get to clean up their board with this Fury, though. If we draw a land, then we have this this Unstable Amulet. We also just have a first striker, which is pretty tasty. Ocelot Pride. It's not really the one, is it? So I think we are just going to Fury away their board here. losing with 1 card in hand. Now we've got a long way to kill our opponent here, because they are on 21 after this attack. But if we can find a red source, we can deploy this. If we find a white source, we can deploy this. Opponent just doesn't have anything going on. Amped Raptor is pretty good into flashed in opposition agents, but they would just flash it in end step and then kill us with it. Alright, they got Surveil Land. That's probably what they drew for turn. Let's see if they keep it or bin it. They kept it, so they're going to have a play next turn. It could be something as big as a troll here, so I'd very much like to find some mana. A Plateau would be lovely here. An Unstable Amulet. Alright, that's not the one, is it? We've got like a minute on the clock as well, so if we have to go to game 3, we've got more time to leverage. What would they leave on top but then not play? That's so weird. Walking Ballista, you do not do anything. Are they just going to play like 2 opposition agents at end step? No, nothing. Why do they keep it on top? What were they scared of? That they would keep a card that doesn't do anything on this board. Or maybe it's a removal spell and they just don't want to fight on a raptor straight away, in case we draw a better creature that we can deploy. I don't know. Seems weird. Okay, we've taken half their life total out pretty much. Because they have to win 2 games in the amount of time they have left. So I'm kind of surprised that they surveilled and didn't get rid of something that could have been a threat. With a Bloom Command, sure. They're milling, they're going to get a wasteland back, I would assume. Yep, so our next land, not going to be the happiest. An Ocelot Pride, that does nothing here. But our opponent still has to win the game. We've now got 2 minutes ahead of them on the clock. Alright, this kills us in 2 turns. And it's quite a tricky thing to block. Okay, Unstable Amulet. Is it you or is it... I think it's Amped Raptor here. A Questing Druid. I will cast a Questing Druid. We're trying to Amped Raptor into like a plow. Further Profane, sure. Maybe that's what they kept hold of, just so they had a removal spell ready to go. But they bash for 3 here. And then we need to find like a plow or something. And the ability to cast, so we need another Amped Raptor. But we couldn't play just a Plateau into this wasteland. Fury works here. So what do we need? What works here? We cast this. We exile a card. If it's a Fury, we get to do something there. It's not a Fury. Let's get this Lush Portico going. We'll leave that on top. We will attack here. Right, we're just going to waste a minute of our opponent's time here. Let's get that sweet clock damage. So turn it sideways, and then they have 3 minutes 46, and we have 5 minutes 15. I like how I sideboarded here. It feels pretty strong. I'm quite happy just to go again with what we've got. More removal is obviously even better when our opponent is on a clock, because they won't be able to finish the game in the time they have if we can just remove their guys. Okay, I'll keep this. It has removal spell, it has Amped Raptor. We do stuff. Let's get this Arid Mesa down and pass. I don't know if we want to play so we can't be wastelanded here. It's certainly an option. Go ahead, opponent. Took our plow. Let's crack this, go and get ourselves a Surveil Land. I think we want the Lush Portico here. And play Amped Raptor. Food Chain. Okay, we can't cast that. We just had a 2-mana 2-1. It looks like they're basically just splashing for Witherbloom Command. Alright, a Doughty Voidwalker. Sure. Let's attack. Put out cat into cat. If they have a Plague Engineer, that's obviously not great for us. But they have to have it. Otherwise, we snowball this game up pretty hard. Witherbloom Command. Okay. So getting back a land here. It's just a Polluted Delta. No wasteland. Excellent news. I did this before making a land drop so that they could... Okay. Are they playing our little guy, are they? They want our Ocelot Pride more than they want their own Doughty Voidwalker. That's kind of wild. Can you get wastelanded here? Sure. That's fine. An Unstable Amulet. Intriguing. So we're going to attack here. This wants to attack. They can trade off. I don't care. We trade off with either of these. Alright, they're just trading off these guys. Sure. Do I want to make this... I don't think I want to make this Unstable Amulet. I would rather get the Questing Beast, the Questing Druid going so we can hit a land next turn. A wasteland, sure. So we probably want a Taiga here. And we're going to seek the beast. Unfortunately, we drew 2 white cards, so this Taiga not the best. Yeah, it's pretty annoying. We've got a Fury to sweep some stuff up, and we have a free card to pitch to it in Squee as well. So the reason I got the Taiga is so that we could have the ability to cast the 1 creature we know about. Alright, an August Bowmaster, sure. Yeah, it's annoying, but it's fine. This isn't worth me Furying just to kill these. If they play another creature, then sure. It does leave us slightly exposed to a Thoughtseize, but we can afford to take a little bit damage from this, I think. We draw a land, and we can play the Druid, or we can play the Amulet. Probably the Amulet is better here. Okay, we didn't draw the ability to play anything. Yeah, these recurring wastelands are a little bit awkward for us. We could have fetched on basics. Our opponent's got 1 minute 20. 4 lands in play. Filigree Silex, okay. Unstable Amulet, sure, we're just going to pass. So, was it 10 counters to deal 10 damage? I don't know if they're going to go that route. I don't believe they will. A Nethergoyf. This is a 3/4. What do they got? Sorcery, creature, land. No instance yet. So Fury can kill this and kill it dead. Sure, we'll do that. If they sacrifice the Filigree Silex right now, it'll kill their own Nethergoyf anyway. They can sacrifice the Filigree Silex and then redeploy the Nethergoyf. Doughty Voidwalker, sure. Need some more mana. An Ocelot Pride that we can't cast, sure. Like, we're a third of the way through our deck. Should have more than 3 lands by this time, really. An Amped Raptor, that's not the one. Oh dear, oh dear. So it's the 2-turn clock, so we need something this turn. And our opponent does have other cards in hand. Fury would be the best draw, I think, for right now. A Wooded Foothills. If we crack this and go to 2, we die to their 1/1s. Okay, so we're going to get a Plateau here. We have to Amped Raptor into something good. An Unstable Amulet. Okay. I'll cast it. This can hit us a Fury. It was not a Fury. Okay. Our opponent has 10 seconds. I think we could have activated this at a different time, but we were trying not to just jam our opponent up. Alright, our opponent wins with 1 second on their clock. If we draw a land, in any of those turns we didn't draw a land, we win this game, basically. That's just the nature of things. Yeah, we just got kind of buried by the wastelands there. I think we were pretty unfortunate. Like, we're, what, 35 cards left in our deck. And we've seen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lands. But if we remove the fetch lands, that's only 4 lands in nearly half of our deck. So I think we can feel a little bit aggrieved about that one. I think this matchup looks pretty good. Like, we just have all these card advantage creatures. Maybe we're supposed to have fetched basics off of our Arid Mesa and Wooded Foothills. And that's kind of the push and pull of what we were supposed to be doing with those. Maybe if we just go and fetch a mountain and a plains, we just win this game quite easily. So I think maybe we just need to ignore the green mana a little bit there and go for that line. But our opponent was like a couple of turns in and hadn't done any wastelands or whatever. But yeah, maybe if we just fetch our basics, we're fine there. So even though we were unlucky not to draw lands, there's definitely a way we could have played this game that we probably would have won because we had all these things to leverage. We only need to slow our opponent down by 1 second. All right, 4 rounds down. We are currently 2-2, so we're going for the positive record in the final round. We don't have the most amount of action here, but we have cat into more cats with a couple of surveil lands to find a bit more action. I'm going to give this a go. It is a little bit light on action, but maybe it's just because I got wastelanded into the dirt last round and I'm nervous. Dragon's Rage Channel. Are we supposed to play around days? The age-old question. When we have little amount of action, we probably are. So I'm going to Portico here. They can wasteland this, but that's some action. It's pretty good against 1/1s. Alright, we've got Ponder happening. This is the sort of matchup that we should be quite good into. It's just like fair creatures because we've got good removal and card advantage creatures. There's the wasteland. Yep. Okay, so we're getting some action out of our opponent. We're only getting hit by a 1/1, but they are putting more stuff in their graveyard as we go. Right, let's get this with the intention of getting the commercial district, just to get a bit more surveil action. And then we're just going to be playing around days. Because whilst we're only taking 1 damage, I think that's fine. If we can stop our opponent being able to leverage days as a tool this game, then I think we'll be in a nice spot. Now they could stifle this, unlikely, but it's a thing that does exist. But I'm not going to respect it unless we see something like a Dreadnought style plan. Okay, little Ocelot Pride. It's your time to shine. Okay, so we can Ocelot and Ajani next turn. Red and green, seeking the beast, I suspect. There it is. Force of Will and a Daze. That is a bit of a swing and a miss for our opponent there, but it has milled them over a card, so now attacking for 3 with the Channeler. That does mean they don't have a creature back to block unless they play the Druid this turn. So that Daze and Force of Will go away before our turn. We could see something like a little Murktide here. That'd be pretty solid. Okay, they're going for the Questing Druid. Are we going to see a Lightning Bolt on our Ocelot Pride? We are indeed. Okay. It's getting a little tough for us. We need to draw some more action though. Like, a single Plow turns this game around quite a lot. An Amped Raptor. So am I playing Ajani into Ocelot Pride here? Do I want to play into a Daze? Do I want to play slower? Like, a Daze triggers both of these. Makes the guy bigger. Do I just want this Ocelot Pride to attack though? I think I do. Alright. You can leverage your Daze now, opponent. Okay, I didn't have it. Excellent news. So that is the situation we're playing for. Sometimes they don't have the thing you're playing around. But now we slowed ourselves down to do this. And we've taken a little bit of damage for the pleasure, but 2 Lightning Bolts have already gone, so the amount of reach they have left in their deck is not enormous. Not going to just get like a flurry of triple bolts out of nowhere. So we can block with a Questing Druid with the cat and get an Ajani, and then we can start doing Amped Raptor stuff and making cats that start blowing their creatures up, and that's going to be a difficult position for them to come back from unless they play a Murktide Regent this turn, and then we're going to be looking for that Plow. Now Amped Raptor can certainly help us out with the trying to find the Plow because it lets us dig a little bit. And then a Holy Heat on the Ocelot Pride. This will flip our Ajani, which they're then going to attack with their Dragon's Rage Channeler. So that's pretty good for our opponent there. Can we say no to this? We can. Okay. So now if they attack with a Questing Druid, we can block with a cat, flip this. Although it's going to be hard to leverage damage when we have less cats. But maybe Amped Raptor will provide. So this is kind of a big choice here. I think we do get the Planeswalker now that they can't attack it. It is a touch on the awkward side. We need to preserve our life total a little bit. This time we will have the Planeswalker. Surprised they didn't just Unholy Heat our Ajani. I guess they were trying to make us flip it. Or maybe they didn't know that this one is an optional. Whereas, one of them isn't optional. I can't remember which one it is. Tamiyo, that's it. Tamiyo is not optional. So maybe they thought it would work similarly. Murktide Regent. Yep, well this is certainly what we didn't want to see. Guide of Souls. Okay, this is a good start to things. So we're going to play this land so we can play around a Daze. Let's go white. Guide of Souls. Amped Raptor. If this finds a Plow, that's going to be pretty tasty for us. A Collector Ouphe. Would I like this Collector Ouphe? I think so. It's a free guy. Gain some more life. Now I'll make a cat. And we get to deal 4 damage. So we could kill this Questing Druid or we could kill this guy with flying. I think it's the guy with flying that has to go here. So this means our opponent has probably got to attack our Ajani here. Because they can't just 2-turn us unless they have another Murktide. Yep, this guy getting big is obviously annoying. But we're no stranger to chump blocking. We probably chump block with the Collector Ouphe. Although this can be bounced with a Brazen Borrower and then we get value. Whereas if they bounce this, we don't get any value. But this is a cat, so it has options in terms of plussing our Planeswalker and making them larger. We're obviously not blocking with our Amped Raptor, and I don't think we can block with the life gain because we're going to need that somewhere down the line. If they send them both at Ajani, then that'd be the best for us because then we just let the Ajani die and keep our creatures. And then we bash for 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's pretty good. That's a 2-turn clock and we get to play the Ballista. Okay, they kept on top with the Ponder after a little while. It's just another Murktide. That's obviously pretty annoying for us. Can we draw our swords to Plowshares? The age-old question. I wonder if they go face with this. If they go face with both, we have to chump block. We could just try and kill this Questing Druid, but it comes at the cost of our Amped Raptor, which means we don't get to shoot anything. But how useful is shooting things right now? Not the most. It's going to be tough. We're going to need a plow. Plow keeps us alive for a turn. Okay, so we have a plow. Step 1. Source to Plowshares our opponents. I guess we make a cat. That gets us a little bit of help here. And then we have to plow this. A Force of Negation. We are dead to that. Okay. So, I would like to play some Pyroblast, please. I also think Carpet is interesting here, as are the Furies. Furies will sweep out all of their guys apart from their big scary Murktide. I don't believe we want Magus of the Moon. So that gets us a Pyroblast here. How useful do I think the Mawloc is? It's fine. We don't need the Collector Ouphe. That can become another Pyroblast. So that's 2 more answers for the Murktide Regent. Do we want answers to their other creatures? So what we can take out is we can take out these 3. So we can trim on the combo a little bit here. And put in some Furies or some Carpets. I really didn't like getting Wastelanded, but I think we can just fetch better. I think fetching better is actually the plan, instead of boarding in these Carpets. But if the Carpets aren't for this matchup, what matchup are they for, really? Okay, we will keep this. We're a little bit exposed to the old Wastelands here. So maybe we do want the Carpets. Because when we have a hand that looks like this, we do kind of need to play on non-basics. Again, Lightning Bolt. Unholy Heat. Same, but different. I'll play out this Arid Mesa with the intention of getting a mountain. Playing on basics life going. There's the Wasteland. Let's seek those beasties. We're going to get Float Blue, Maker. Alright, just going to Hydroblast it, sure. Yeah, that's pretty good. Alright, well, we've got some creatures covered. Our opponent gets to upgrade their Force of Wills into actual good spells here. So I kind of want to get a Surveil Land, but I also don't. I could go get a Forest here. I guess we can draw and see what happens. I don't want to get a Surveil Land. We want to play on basics. An Ocelot Pride. That probably suggests that we're supposed to get the white source here. And just not play the Mawloc. Let's get this Ocelot Pride down. It does mean our opponent has a chance to flip these guys. We could just play the Fury straight up. Alright, they're trying to stack it. So we are going to take 6 this turn. Maybe it is better just to pitch the Mawloc to the Fury there. Right, they've got a Lightning Bolt on top. So we're going to lose our Ocelot Pride as well. And take 6 for the pleasure. There's the Lightning Bolt we knew about. Yeah, so now we've taken more damage than we needed to, really. Okay, we drew a Forest, though. What does that do here? I think we're just supposed to pitch... Are we supposed to pitch the Fury now, since we can Mawloc the next creature? In theory. I think so. We can get forced here. Alright, so we have the Murktide answered. I don't think we can afford to blow this plow on anything else. But because we didn't pitch the Fury the previous turn, we ended up in a situation where we might need to kill another creature. Which is not great. I'd love to see a Murktide. We definitely plow in our opponent's turns. We've got the mana to play around days. And then we don't have to worry about the Force of Negation that we've already seen. Which probably isn't still in their deck, but it might be. Alright, there's a Misty Rainforest. It's going to be Murktide. This is actually what we want our opponent to play, which is a rare situation to be in. There it is. What are they going to do with this other mana? I'm curious. A Delver. Okay, so this is great for us. We get to kill this. We get to untap, and we just slam this Mawloc and fight with this. We know our opponent doesn't have days right now. Get gobbled up. So now our opponent's living off the top, and we have 1 card in hand. The card we have in hand is kind of like 2 cards, but a 2 on body is not really a card in Legacy, so it's like a card and a half we have here. Our creature is very susceptible to Lightning Bolt right now. Just go for Raptor, just get some damage going. Where are you going to find us? A Food Chain. I will not cast that because I can't, because I don't have the energy. One of the few bad hits in our deck, but, you know, it happens. But we got a 5-turn clock, and we can maybe speed that up with a Ballista down the stretch. Lightning Bolt. I did mention our creature was very susceptible to it. I'll play this out. I don't want to play this Ballista just yet. Our opponent's got one card in hand. If that card's a daze, it feels pretty bad for us. Okay, so now they're representing Hardcast Force of Will. I would like to Unstable Amulet, please. Let's have a little look at the top of our library. A Food Chain. That should hopefully give our opponent a bit of fear. So we can play that next turn, then draw a different card with the Amulet. A Dragon's Rage Channeler. Currently a 1/1. So I could try and play this Walking Ballista. So have a daze, it really is annoying for us. But I think we just want to take their guy out here. Alright, we're just in. Let's ping this off. Let's attack for 2. We're not going to cycle this food chain. We'll cycle this food chain to another card. We want to get the food chain in play first. Doesn't mean we don't have infinite off the Walking Ballista, but an infinitely sized Questing Druid is probably going to be enough. Alright, we got the game. Okay, fetching basics is good. I think we probably do want the carpets here. What are we supposed to cut for the carpets is a harder question to answer. Like, are we trimming on recruiters? We could like go down on a recruiter and an amulet. Honestly, I think go down on an Amped Raptor. They've been kind of underwhelming to me. Right, let's try it with a couple of carpets in. Right, when the Amped Raptor hits your food chain and doesn't do anything good, that feels pretty bad. So we can play on 2 basics here. We've got something resembling a plan. A volcanic island into ponder. That's what we want to see. We don't want to see creatures on turn 1. We want a little bit of breathing room. And that's what our opponent's given us. So we play this. This is the one that gets us the basic planes. We're just going to have to sort of sack off the green for a bit. We are basically splashing green. So we can certainly play the game on these 2 basics. And this will be our third red, our second red for when we want to play Squee. This one gets the plains and the other one gets the mountain. So I could play the, I kind of want to play the Unstable Amulet, but maybe we just want to question. I think we just want the Amulet though. They can daze this, but they're not putting any pressure, so it's just trading 1 for 1 when we have 2 for 1s ahoy in our deck. Sure, that's fine. You slow yourself down a bit. Gets them towards the Murktide, which we have an answer for. Obviously, we need to resolve that answer, but I don't think our opponent has many Force of Wills left in their deck. I would certainly be boarding them out a lot in a matchup like this. Okay, we have this Amped Raptor that is continually disappointing me. Do I want to try it, though? I think so. It's like annoying, but not really worth interacting with for our opponent. And then we can just get something on board to start attacking with. Like we're a food chain away from being able to just win the game. A Hydroblast, sure. There's an argument to not playing out our plow there, but not playing out our plateau there, but we want to access the plow in some sort of weird emergency. But mostly we want to make sure that we can play around the days, so they had to use a hard counter. Now they had a nice efficient 1 mana hard counter, sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This looks like a Murktide to me. Yep, that's kind of what we wanted. Now, I don't believe our opponent has Force of Negation in their deck anymore. I would rather have more mana to play around dazes. So this is going to be step 1, plow. Okay, so they forced this. So now what we need to do is do the Questing Druid in our opponent's end step so that we can try and dig towards another plow. Or a way of food chaining at some point. But we need land and food chain. This is a 3-turn clock, but a lightning bolt probably means it's a 2-turn clock. We're not getting wastelanded there, which is something. So we could have fetched green and had more options. Hydroblast. It's a daze. We can't pay for that. Unfortunate. A Pyroblast. I knew this was coming, I guess. So we'll destroy this permanent. If it's blue, you got Hydroblast over there. A Brainstorm. Okay, they're digging for an answer. Oh, don't do it to me, opponent. Don't do it to me. Force of Will. Okay, so we can play the Ajani, which doesn't do very much here. We could Questing Druid, hoping to find a White Swords and a Plow. But if we find just the Plow, then that's going to really suck for us. So I think we have to Questing Druid in our opponent's turn. Are they going to shuffle off this Brainstorm? They are. Okay. So we're not dead to Lightning Bolt, but it's close. Let's Seek the Beast. Swords 2, Plowshares. Love seeing you over there. 1 card in hand. And the land as well, so we get max value out of it. This is what I mean if we did it and didn't find the white source. Pick out a Taiga, and I will plow this. We should have played the Questing Druid first, really, but I want to make sure that we don't get hit by daze on the plow. If we get dazed on the Questing Druid, it's not the worst, but it is right to sequence in that way, even though it looks a bit awkward. If we draw a food chain, we can do a lot of stuff here. Another Swords to Plowshares. Certainly happy to see that one. Our opponent could play a Brazen Borrower, which maybe means we're supposed to just hold up here, which feels kind of awkward, a little bit counterintuitive. Because they'd have to have Brazen Borrower into Lightning Bolt. Whereas if we just start putting more pressure down, I think that works better for us. Red. Do we have anything that we want to tutor for here? We could get a Guide of Souls and then try and gain our life back. But this could also just be our combo piece if we need it. So I think we're probably... Are we Ajaniing or are we Squeeing? Probably Ajani. It hits for more damage. Alright, Questing Druid, you can get bigger. Okay, no end of turn Brazen Borrower. That's good. We've got the next monster covered because of this plow. Alright, no additional monsters. Oh, I love seeing this. Big fan of this one. So let's just get this little guy going. Alright. We can also plow our own creatures. But we have to be a little bit wary of a lightning bolt. Because if we fetch, we go down to 3. Kind of just want to get this Guide of Souls running. There's no point doing it immediately. We don't have any other life gain. This is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have a 2-turn clock, so we don't need to play this Recruiter out. We can just attack and just hold up the plow. Because we might have to crack this to pay around the days if we play the Imperial Recruiter and try and plow. A Lightning Bolt to our dome. Sure. We can plow our own Squee. Or our own Questing Druid. There is a bauble. They're targeting themselves. They will shuffle if they need to here. They are shuffling. So basically just trying to draw the Lightning Bolt here. Alright, we win the game and the match. So yeah, pretty good. We got a 3-2, and one of the rounds we lost against the mono black deck, we basically didn't hit lands in a big bunch of our deck, and we probably could have played around that just by fetching basics. So honestly, I think the deck deserved a 4-1 today. I think we just should have played that mono black one a bit differently. I just wasn't expecting a big flurry of like 3 wastelands out of nowhere. And honestly, pretty impressed with this as a first draft. I hadn't even tested this. I just sort of built it and just wanted to fire straight in so you could go in fresh like I am. So let's talk about the list. The energy shell is pretty solid. Like the Guide of Souls, Ocelot Pride thing is pretty nice. Amped Raptor was definitely not a thing that I was that impressed about. So the Unstable Amulet as card advantage was better a lot of the time, because Amped Raptor quite often just hit the food chain and didn't do anything. Now there were situations where we Amped Raptor into like a Guide of Souls or into another Amped Raptor, and that was like okay. Like if it's hitting another Amped Raptor, that's not amazing. If it's hitting one of these like good 1-drops, that's fine. Sometimes we were using it to dig for removal, which is also fine. But yeah, this is probably the worst card in the deck for where we're at right now. Obviously, we want to keep the Walking Ballista, and the Mawloc is just a nice thing you can tutor for. But we could even like strip back even more on the green, just get rid of the Mawloc as well. But I like having a creature that we can go and tutor for to blow some stuff up. Obviously, we already have the Skyclave, so we could also just have like... I don't know if Solitude's playable with the amount of white cards we have. It's going to be pretty tight to play something like a Solitude in here, which is why we have the Furies in the board as our removal of choice to sort of go alongside our plows as our way of hitting the big things. Collector Ouphe from the main deck and Magus the Moon didn't really do anything this time around, but you know, that's going to happen sometimes and that's fine. I think there's a lot to like about this list. I'm definitely going to experiment with it more. Maybe we start trimming some of these Amped Raptors and having just more Ajanis. That did feel like the more powerful thing to be doing. Unstable Amulet is part of our combo, whereas Amped Raptor isn't as well. So it kind of is better at drawing cards most of the time. And the thing that lets us just combo off and win the game is probably better than a 2-1 first strike body. However, we did manage to leverage that 2-1 first strike body a few times in this league. Like we first struck down Nethergoyf, and we could attack into their 1-1 because we had a first strike guy at one point. So certainly not without merit. But yeah, this deck felt pretty solid. You could swap out the recruiters for white recruiters and go more heavily into white and then not play something like Fury. But I think the effect of Fury as a sweeper is a lot more unique than the effect of Solitude as a removal spell, which is why I leaned into the Fury in the sideboard. Because if you want more Swords to Plowshares effects, like Swords to Plowshares is better than Solitude. Even though we can shoot it for the Solitude, I think Swords to Plowshares is better than a Solitude. If you want more of the Swords to Plowshares effect in the sideboard, I think we probably just play Path to Exile or something like that. Whereas replicating the Fury effect is a lot more difficult. You'd have to be playing, like Pyrokinesis again requires a red card. Pyroclasm isn't something we want to cast given our own creatures. So I think it does make sense to be slightly more pushed into red than white. But then it does beg the question, if we're cutting these Amped Raptors, are we still going to be able to do that? Because if we cut the Amped Raptors, then we play some Ajanis, we're probably going to end up with more white cards and red cards. That's something to consider. I think the mana base is fine. What we could probably even think about doing is running a Prismatic Vista base, mana base, because that way we get to have these lands that find any of our basics and just run more basics, because I did feel like we wanted basics a fair bit here. But there were certainly hands where we kind of wanted some other stuff going on, because Guide of Souls into Mawloc is sometimes a thing you want to do, and that becomes a difficult proposition. Now maybe just say, okay, this is a one-off, we're not going to have it often, let's not try and skew our deck just so we can sometimes curl into this. And that's pretty reasonable too. In terms of color intensity, we're all just like white here, but sometimes we want to play multiple white spells in a turn, which means we kind of do want the ability to have these non-basics. And then we also have double white here and double red here. And that can be a little bit awkward. Like, we're not really trying to play the green, we're trying to splash into the green as a thing that we can do sometimes for some like potent sideboard cards like Gadok or Collector Ouphe that we run in the main, as well as our actual combo card and Food Chain. But all in all, I'm going to say this was a pretty successful experiment. I'm going to keep working around this little shell. I know there is a Rug Energy Food Chain deck, and I will be playing that on the channel at some point, probably later this month, because I love Food Chain and I want to try all the builds. But this was just an idea that was sort of bubbling in the back of my head that I wanted to get out and let you lovely people have a look at, and then get some feedback from, because, you know, sometimes in the comments I do get some really interesting ideas that kind of make me switch up my builds a little bit. So if you've got any ideas of how to improve this one, by all means, let me know. All right, I think we are done for today. So thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths, as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month, as well as regular articles, and lastly the higher tier gives you all of the above, as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.